for the past few years, I did notice that a lot of talented people who get interested in furries have started to rise on social media. Some like to draw, some like to make merch or fursuit, or some are just really good at interacting with other furries from around the world. So I do hope the furry fandom here will expand more than that in 5 years.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Fox and Burger Podcast, where we bring you closer to the Asian furry fandom, one episode at a time. I'm your co-host, Michael the Matcha Fox.
And I am Burger.
And today, we're taking our first ever trip to Vietnam with our guest, Kusu, an artist, and Bio, a fursuiter and fursuit maker.
In this episode, we took a look at our guests' backgrounds while also discussing the current state of the Vietnamese furry fandom. We also discuss whether the Vietnamese community is more influenced by the East or the West, and how furries in Vietnam meet up with one another. Finally, we talked about the future of Vietnamese furries and whether a Vietnam FurryCon is possible in the near future.
We're excited to finally take a peek into Vietnam, so sit back and enjoy some Vietnamese iced coffee and pho. Okay, so welcome Bio and welcome Kusu to the podcast.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I think this is our first episode, right? Going to Vietnam?
Yeah, we've gone to other Southeast Asian furries, but we haven't been to Vietnam. We've been to Indonesia and Thailand and stuff like that, but not Vietnam yet. So this is always good to have a first.
Yeah, Kusu and Bio, I think you guys have been on the list for some time as well. I met Kusu back in, Furrum? We were just talking about this a moment ago. Was it Furrum 2018? 2018, right?
No, 2018 it's when you first met Bio, right?
Well, but when did I first meet you? I thought it was also at Furrum, right?
Yeah, was also in Firm.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I met both of you at Furrum 2018. And shout out to CT. I think it was actually CT who introduced us. And I think we were going around KL, I think, during that trip. But yeah, it's nice to see you guys. It's unfortunate that I couldn't see you in Vietnam. I believe Burger and I, we both have not been to Vietnam, but it's definitely on our lists.
And it's not that we haven't tried. I've tried before, got stuck in Malaysia, and had to go back to the US, unfortunately, just due to how the flight plan was arranged. Someday in the future, maybe we can make that happen.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and begin with our first question. Briefly tell us about your fursona, what you do in the fandom, and how you became a furry. And by the way, let's keep the order with Kusu first and then Bio second. So, Kusu, would you like to begin?
Oh, hi. I think you guys may know about me as the name Kusunagi, but I prefer Kusu for short. My persona is a blue wolf. If I remember correctly, I've been furry since 2009. But fun fact, it was in 2018 that I started to make my own persona. The reason why it took that long was because back then I was not very good at drawing.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually been around in the fandom since that time frame as well, 2009, 2010. And I was fortunate to have someone basically design and draw a persona for me when I needed one back then. And I've gone through a couple of different species and renditions since then. And I'm settled right now on Burger, my bull, my precious bully boy.
And then Kusu, you mentioned that you're a blue wolf. Then your profile picture, is it a red wolf or is that another OC?
Oh, it's just my OC.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I like him. He looks cool. And then how about Bio?
Oh, hello. I'm Bill, and my persona is husky. I'm a fursuiter and a fursuit maker. Actually, I'm also joined the fandom in around 2009 and 2010.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I'm impressed. Everyone here has been a fandom for a long time.
Yeah. So currently that time, before that, I'm also a fan of cartoon and animals, and at that time I was looking at YouTube video about Disneyland. I accidentally found out about the convention for furries. If I remember right, it's further confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So after that, I'm joining the fandom after that.
Right. So you started with videos about Disneyland
Yeah.
and found out about FC. All right. Is there any sort of similarities? I guess the first one would be like they both have mascot characters. Yeah.
yeah, they both have like mascot character, and like I really like to like see one of my character, like my favorite character, become alive. So
Right.
yeah,
Trying to remember what my favorite character would be in Disneyland. It would have to be at this point. It would have to be Nick Wilde.
no, it's before that is Stitch.
Oh yeah, Stitch
Yeah,
is
Lilo
pretty
and
good
Stitch.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys for briefly introducing yourselves. Let's into our next section, the guest spotlight. So again, we'll ask questions for Kusu first, and I guess Bio, you can just kind of sit tight if that's okay. For Kusu, what got you into art? We know that you're an artist. We know that you have a lot of followers. You're actually one of the few Vietnamese artists I know. So yeah, what got you into art, and what was the spark?
Well, I think like then when I was watching cartoons and play video games and I saw many furry characters and I fell in love with the character design. One day I had an urge to draw a furry characters. Then that passion started to rise when I saw other amazing art about furries on the internet. Like I told you guys, like I joined furry fandom since 2009.
Right.
And it was then that drawing became my hobby. Another fun fact that after I graduate, I was going to be a professional program engineer, but I found it didn't suit me well. So I became a concept artist instead.
And you said you became a concept artist, but like you mean like freelance, or like you worked with a company?
I work for studios where they are
Oh
making
wow.
mobile games. So yeah.
In Vietnam.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
So a concept artist and a professional one at that. That sounds like a pretty good career choice. But let's talk more about your freelance work more in the furry side. So can you tell us about some of the interesting pieces that you've drawn for furries?
Well, there are actually many interesting pieces, but I think I can show you guys later. But like,
Yeah.
because when I was working on them, I intend to like change my progress regularly to make the drawing more interesting, and I also have a chance to discover a new way to work on it.
Yeah, I've seen artists kind of update, quote unquote, their drawings like a few years later, like 5 years, 10 years after the fact. It is always good to see the kind of progress and the kind of techniques that they've learned after the fact. So that is something that I like to see, especially this is on Twitter. I like to browse through a lot of art through Twitter. Other websites, maybe not so much.
Yeah, so Kusu, like I'm just scrolling through your Twitter here, as we've been talking, and it looks like you've done doujinshis before. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to talk about. Like doujinshi seem to be this sort of thing that is really popular in Asia. And we just had an episode with Japanese furs with Casey Gepe in June. And we talked a little bit about doujinshis during that episode. And so I wanted to ask, like, so what's your current doujinshi? Like, can you tell us a little bit about it without spoiling it, of course?
Current doujinshi, I think it is true that furry doujinshi are very popular in Asia, and I was lucky enough to be working on a Japanese doujin back in 2019.
Oh wow.
And my current doujin right now is the Patreon exclusive, so I think I can't tell anything much about it. But I'm also working on another doujin.
Yeah, doujinshis, like again, like I think they're really popular in Asia. I don't actually collect them. I used to do that in the past, but then I realized that I'm more of a minimalist, and I usually like to see other people happy, so I just started giving them out. We've got like a lot of doujinshis here in Taiwan as well, and I think they're really special. At least some of the doujinshis I've seen, I think they're like OCs, I guess. They're like OCs, and then I've also seen doujinshis where they're based off of like a already existing character. I think the concept of doujinshi is just really fascinating because I don't really see that in the West. We might start having quote unquote doujinshis in the West, but I don't think they're that common.
I think it would be more common for that to be like an online webcomic or just a digital only kind of a thing rather than like a physical book that you can buy.
Yeah, that was my quick question. If I could ask a quick question for Kusu, like the doujinshis that you have worked on or are currently working on, do you ever plan like just printing them out? Like getting a publisher and printing them out and that kind of stuff and selling them that way?
Well, I do have like a plans for that, but for now I will stick with the current track first.
Yeah, online, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That's always a safe bet. Now, how about when people sell these doujinshi books or any other kind of merchandise, they usually go to a market or a convention to do that. Can you tell us a bit more about the anime conventions or doujinshi markets that where you can see this kind of stuff over in Vietnam?
So I think like in Vietnam, we don't usually have like this selling this furry doujin here, unless like you have if you want it and you have to like order it yourself from overseas to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can you give us some more details about these anime conventions or doujinshi markets in general? Like, how are they like in Vietnam, like in general?
In general, I think like a lot of furries like it, but like since we cannot buy it here, and it's like we either try to make one or we try to order it from overseas, especially like from Taiwan. Vietnamese furry, like we love doujinshi from Taiwan because there's a lot of good
Yeah.
Right.
doujinshi
Oh,
there.
yeah. There are.
Yeah, yeah. And I do appreciate some of the doujinshis that are in Taiwan as well, especially the ones that I saw at Furrymosa.
Well, personally, I prefer some Japanese doujinshi. And if I remember correctly, Michael, I think the first time when we met, you also gave me like one doujin from
Oh,
Japan.
yeah. Which
Do you
one was
remember
it?
that?
Which one? I know I gave it. Which one was it? I can't remember.
I don't know the wait, I can't say the name. I don't know how to say the name, but like I
Oh.
really love it.
I see. In Asia, I feel like almost everyone instantly recognizes what they are. I love that.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then we'll just give one more question to Kusu before moving over to Bio. So then, Kusu, what would be your best advice for new artists, whether they be in Vietnam or anywhere else in the world?
Well, I would say like when you just started drawing, even if like you self-learning or you went to art school, focusing on art fundamental is like the important part. And try to always draw something every day. Well, it doesn't have to be a serious drawing. Sometimes it can
Right.
be a
Like
fun sketch.
doodling,
Yeah, just to
like
relax.
sketching. Yeah.
And always looking for reference when you're
Oh, yeah,
learning.
yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
remember you guys always talk about that in like when I visit you guys in your server, like people, yeah. Great advice. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So now let's talk a little bit more about Bio. So tell us about your fursuit making. What first got you into creating furry costumes?
The biggest reason is the cost for commission fursuit is extremely high.
Yeah.
Yeah, with in Vietnam that would be a lot.
It
So
could be like several months' salary, right?
yeah, and at that time I was like still too young to like having any salary or anything. So I decided to make my own fursuit.
And what was your first fursuit? Was it the husky or?
Yep, it's the husky.
Oh, yeah, the one where I just saw the video with you said like dumb husk. Is it that husky? The one you did the
No,
muzzle
no, no.
thing? Oh, no. Oh, that's a different husky.
Yeah, that that's the one I commissioned from Kemusiki.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you made your first fursuit mainly as a response because commissioning a fursuit would be really expensive for you.
Yeah.
I did have a question about the cost then. What about like buying fur? Like is buying fur like is it just that much cheaper in Vietnam? Or like where do you get your fur?
Yeah, it's actually much cheaper in Vietnam. Let me see if I remember right.
Sure.
It's around $10 for like a meter.
Per meter.
Okay.
Yeah, per meter.
So you're buying in Vietnam. You're not buying it like from China, right?
No, we have a small store in my local that's selling fur.
Oh, nice. So the
Yeah.
domestic industry.
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard stories from like Filipino furs and maybe Thai furs, Tail, who said that, because the cost of commissioning these makers is just so high. And remember, guys, we're talking like third world countries where just the salaries aren't as high as what we're used to in the West. It's very hard for the people, in these countries to commission like really, really expensive suits. So again, I think I've heard stories about like people in the Philippines, they just make their own suits, even if they're not professionals. Like they said, you know what, I just want to try it. And in a way, I feel like that's very creative. I really feel like it breeds creativity, and it also gets people to like explore their interests, their artistic interests, and they might even become a fursuit maker. Who knows?
Yes.
And I wanted to say for Bio, when you were making your suit though, like, did you have any sort of like fursuit making senpais, like people that you admired and like people who you really like their style? Like, was there anyone in mind?
Yes, definitely. The first one definitely is Matrices.
I'm not too familiar with that person.
Yeah, let me see.
Could you share a link maybe?
Yeah, I will share a link to you later.
Okay, I see the link now. Matrices.
Yeah.
Matrices. Okay.
I've never heard of this person. They look Western.
Yes, she's a Western fursuit maker.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started to do fursuit making, and she posting on the tutorial for
Right.
online. Yeah.
That's really nice of
So-
this person.
Yes, that's like my first ever like fursuit making teachers. Yeah.
Have you contacted this person?
No, I haven't.
Oh. Yeah, I was gonna say like that would be so nice. Like I feel like they would be really honored and flattered if you say like, yeah, you're one of my senpais. So
That is my my first senpai, and the next one is Kimono Lai.
Okay, line.
Yeah, K-Lai.
yeah, Kayline.
That's interesting. So you have influence from both a Western maker and a Japanese maker as well.
Yeah, I've been like influenced in the Japanese style the most. Like I really like the
Yeah,
the emotion and the eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely it's a very cute and more stylistic choice compared to the toonie style that you typically see in the West.
Does Vietnam, by any chance, have any animals or creatures that you would say are unique to Vietnam? Like they could be real creatures or they could be like mythological creatures. I know in China there's something called like the Kirin or Qilin in Mandarin. But like, you know, does Vietnam have any of these animals?
There are, but most of them is influenced by the Chinese cultural.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have like dragon, phoenix, and
Right.
like yeah.
Have you ever thought about making those kinds of fursuits like dragons or phoenixes?
Well, maybe a dragon.
Yeah. Everyone
Yeah.
loves dragons. Yeah,
Dragons are popular.
I've seen a lot
They
of
are
Eastern
popular,
dragons.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you like this: like, do you prefer Eastern or Western dragons? I think that's the better question.
I prefer the Eastern dragon more.
Same.
Since
Have you
Yeah.
seen Have you seen Aniki?
Aniki?
Yeah, have you seen Aniki before? I'll share the link later. Like we can flash a picture of Aniki. He is a long creation.
Alright.
Yeah, he's a Singaporean fur.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a long creation. He's Singaporean. He's also quite short. That guy is known very well in Singapore. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, I know him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Aniki, I guess. So if you're watching this, Aniki, thank you.
Now, I know you've talked about your influence based on Western and Eastern fursuit makers, but what about other Vietnamese fursuits in general? Do they take more inspiration from the West or from the East?
Maybe I think they take more influence from the West. Like I know a few fursuit maker in Vietnam, and most of them doing like fursuit with Tunic style or Western style.
All right. What about realistic style?
Currently, there's none.
Yeah, it
yeah.
just seems like a very expensive and time-intensive thing to put work into, but like the actual product that comes out of it is really good.
Yeah.
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 We could
It's
see
really
that.
good.
Yeah, we could see more fursuit makers in Vietnam. And actually, that was a question I had. Like, are there other fursuit makers in Vietnam that you can share? Like if you can like name them off the top of your head, and maybe we can like flash some of those pictures later.
Yeah, sure. The first is Kami Kitsune.
Kami Kitsune?
Yep. Next is Rest Dino. And let me see. There's a few more, but I cannot remember their name right now. So
That's all right. Yeah, we'll flash up those names. Yeah, later.
Yeah, we can show them later.
all right.
There's definitely more than I thought. I want to add that in. Like, there's definitely more like Vietnamese fursuit makers than I thought. Because like I think you're the only one I know.
Yeah, like recently the furry fandom is more like there's more people involving in the fandom.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
It's always good to know that there are a growing number of furries joining no matter where they are in the world. And especially, we definitely hear more about how each culture is a little bit more unique, or they have their own unique features compared to furries in other countries or places. Like Singapore has its own kind of unique culture compared to like Japan and Hong Kong and Thailand and all that. Speaking of uniqueness, you've already mentioned that it's cheaper to buy fur from a small little local store in Vietnam. What other unique traits or unique challenges are there to fursuit making inside of Vietnam?
Funny is that like we have like a cheaper range of fur in Vietnam from a
Right.
local store, but that's also the challenging. Like although we like having cheaper fur, but we don't have like the variety of color.
So that at that point, I guess you have to like import it from somewhere else.
Yeah, usually we're gonna import from China. Is yeah, I think that's the most challenging part. Currently, I think we have everything we need to make a good fursuit.
Like I'm really excited to see what kind of fursuits come out of Vietnam because like it almost seems like every single country has their like primary fursuit makers, and I really feel like there's like a strong dominance of the West, but I feel like we also have some really good makers in the East, you know. And the podcast is about showcasing people in Asia, the creative people, the amazing furries in Asia, and so like I'm really excited to see like where the state of fursuit making will be in Vietnam in the coming years.
Yeah, we have really like fursuit maker in here. Yeah.
Yeah, good to hear.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. Let's move on to our next section, comparing and contrasting fandoms. So as always, let's start off with something simple. How can you describe Vietnamese furries? What characteristics do they have? And again, just as a reminder, let's go with Kusu first and then Bio.
How can I describe the Vietnamese furry?
Yeah.
I think I can describe them with 3 words: is curious, enthusiastic, and young. I believe that
Young.
the fandoms here is still like in the early stage, quite lack of independence. From what I see, most artists are they just like the ideas to draw furry stuff, but they don't really invest much in the fandom. Some people who are furries, but they need to focus on their career, which leads to them not having much time within the fandom. So mostly in the fandom right now, there are a lot of new furries.
Yeah.
I think we heard something similar when we talked to furries in Thailand or even furries in mainland China as well. A lot of young people coming in with not a lot of older furries as well. It's kind of like an imbalance, but that'll soon change when those younger furries grow older and get other furries interested that are younger than they are in the coming years.
How old do you think that the fandom is, though, Kusu? Like, I'll ask a quick question to you.
I think I don't remember how when the Vietnamese furry has formed. So I don't think I have a specific time for that.
I think I may know. Is if I remember right, it started in a small group from DeviantArt.
Oh.
Yeah, and then to Infinity, and finally to Facebook.
Wow, so you guys started with DeviantArt. There's like a group for Vietnamese furries in DeviantArt, or else you think that's one of the earlier like meeting points, one of the earlier like platforms that you guys used.
Yeah, I think before that there's only DeviantArt for people to uploading their art and stuff, and people start like getting to know each other. And then they finally form a small group of like Vietnamese furries, and then after that it start growing.
Sounds like back in the 80s when the US furry fandom was just beginning. It was just a small group of artists coming together and deciding to do the same thing they enjoyed with a bunch of new friends and stuff. Yeah.
I think it was around 2008 when the internet was more accessible in Vietnam, and it was then that Vietnamese people know about the furry culture. But it's only a few people. The furry culture right now is only at the hobby stage and hasn't yet grown fully into a lifestyle yet.
You know, there was like a period of, I guess, like turmoil in Vietnam, and you know, that's the Vietnam War, and obviously like at that point it'd be kind of hard for, you know, Vietnamese furry fandom to kind of foster during that period, like in the 70s and the 60s. I think like that also maybe contributed to the sort of like lateness of the, I guess, like the growth of the Vietnamese furry fandom. But, you know, interesting enough, I don't actually know very many furries from Vietnam. I really think Kusu, you're the first Vietnamese furry I've met, and then Bio probably the second. And I probably asked Bio at one point, do you know Kusu? Because like he's like the only Vietnamese furry I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're rare. Like, because if you came to like Infernity, you're probably the only Vietnamese furry. I think we had one Vietnamese furry attend Infernity in 2019, but I'll have to go check the list, the attendee list again. But yeah, like you're probably like the only one who I really know, you and Bio. But you know, like I don't think that there's like this sort of like presence that Vietnamese furries have like in the greater furry fandom. Yeah, and that leads me to my question, which is why is it that there may not be like visibility of Vietnamese furries in the fandom as it is? Like, for example, is there like a language barrier, or, you know, is there something about the fandom that makes it want to be independent or isolated? Or I don't know, do you have any thoughts about that, Kusu?
Most Vietnamese furries are like from the two big cities is Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. Compared to like other furry fandom from other countries, I would say the Vietnamese furries are still small in numbers. Like you guys may know, like our furry fandom is still pretty young and we have a lot to learn and to improve. But, and yes, like you said, Vietnamese furry and most furries that I know tend to stay hidden, and Vietnamese furry have like a language barrier that prevent them from engaging with other furry fandom. But also, like Vietnamese furry and most furries that I know tend to stay hidden or be together in the small groups.
Right.
Well, they're shy to talk about it. Even if like they have their favorite furries on the internet, it's really hard sometimes to express themselves due to like different cultural understanding. You know, like the previous question when you asked Bio about why he didn't like asking the fursuiters is because like, well, Vietnamese furry are also pretty shy, and when they like a popular furry outside Vietnam, most of them don't really approach them directly because they don't want to bother them.
Sure. So can I ask Bio the same question? Like is there anything you want to add to what Kusu said? Like Vietnamese furries not being visible in the fandom. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, actually, Kusu is pretty right about that. That's the problem. Mine's the same.
Yeah,
Like,
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what I remember from some of the previous episodes is that there were some furries that had to deal with parents who might not be supportive of their hobby, or ones that really were supportive and even helping buy them supplies and fursuits and stuff for them. But what about the case in Vietnam? Specifically your parents and family, do they know about your furry hobby or your furry art and costumes? What is their reaction to that?
Well, my parents don't know about me being furry, but my cousin do. They are mostly curious about why I like furry stuff, and I don't think like I'll tell my parents about it.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, I haven't told my parents what the furry yet, but I think they already know what I'm doing by now.
Because like you're making fursuits, so it's kind of hard to hide that, right?
Yes.
Have they seen you wear your fursuit?
Yes, actually they did. um, that's oh, funny animal costume.
Have they tried have they tried wearing your fursuit?
No, they haven't. Like,
Okay.
That's always a neat, real little reaction.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look at the funny costume.
And then you have like Rita's parents, like Rita's dad from the Filipino Furs episode. And then Rita's dad just helps her, just like like Rita's dad just like goes around like, oh, like let me learn how to take pictures of you in your fursuit or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I was talking about. Yeah, super supportive parents. Yeah.
we kind of touched upon this topic a little bit when we talked about like doujinshi cons, but what about just like meetups? Like I'm talking about before COVID. Like how often did you guys meet up, and like is it easy to meet other furries in Vietnam?
For me, it's only like one time per month, but I think I would consider it as a monthly meetup. And my group is just like pretty small in numbers, only like around 4 to 5 people.
Oh, interesting. Are they also artists, or what do they also do other stuff in the fandom, or are they just like regular furries?
They are just regular furries.
Oh wow.
But I like them. I feels comfortable talking to them. So yeah.
Usually we doing like a small group meetup like Kusu. Before that, like recently we starting to like having like a small fur meet for furries in like local area,
Yeah.
like in Ho Chi Minh or
Yeah,
in
because you live in
Hanoi.
Ho Chi Minh, right?
Yeah, currently
Yeah.
I'm living in Hanoi.
Oh, currently you're living in Hanoi. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do have to ask, like, don't you think like when you fursuit though? 'Cause I know you're a fursuit maker and you have a suit. Don't you think it's like really really hot when you fursuit?
Yeah, it's steaming hot.
Are you just used to that now, or do you just like drink a lot of water and then like you only fursuit for 5 minutes, or?
I'm kind of used to it by now. Like
Mhm.
usually I can like for shooting like around 30 to 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, in this weather.
I just have to ask because this is a little bit relevant. Like, I know you have a Shiro Ogami head. Did you make that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So
Yes, I
you
make it.
also had the jacket, right?
Yes, I do.
Isn't it hot? Like I every time I see a picture, like, man, this guy is burning. This guy looks like he's gonna he's gonna burn up.
But it's actually like it's hot after like the when you put it on, but after
Yeah.
like 10-15 minutes, it start to feel like normal clothing.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
And that's what we call homeostasis. Based on this discussion about the different small meetups and get togethers, and the fact that most furries are around the two big cities, and those cities are not close to each other. Like, you would have to like fly or take a long drive just to get from one place to the next one. Or the train. Yeah. There's always the train. So then, given that, do you think there will be a Vietnamese furry convention anytime soon?
To me, I think it's unlikely anytime soon.
Aw.
I mean, there was an attempt, but they realized it was not easy to organize a con. There were financial challenge. The organizers were also inexperienced, and an event like that required paperwork with the local government. And even the medium-sized con would require a lot of management and people to make it happen. Fur cons in many countries, whether they are fairly new or very old, have faced heavy opinions from the public, so
Right.
that could play a part in why we weren't seeing a furcon in Vietnam anytime soon. But despite of that, the good things from other furcons around the world also like don't go unnoticed, because some international furcon event appears on our national news talking about like their charities to various causes.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow.
It is actually very common for a convention in the West to have a charity or non-profit organization that they partner up with whenever they have their convention, and that they do like an art auction or whatever sort of donations that they do in the convention to give to that charity. And that's always a good look for those conventions. Yeah.
I think like Kusu said, I don't think we're gonna have a furcon anytime soon. But we're trying to like organizing like a fur meet like
Right.
frequently to see how the community, how the fandom react to that to the meetup and things like that before we can start playing on bigger things.
I think that's a good idea. I think like start small, right? Like maybe just do like a day trip. You know,
Yeah.
like you take
Yeah.
some friends to go to another part of Vietnam, or you go spend a night somewhere, you know, away from your hometown, obviously, go like on a trip, spend a night there, you know, so you get used to like, how does it feel to be around with a lot of people? How does it feel to book hotel rooms? How do you organize
Yeah.
like dinners and stuff like that? Yeah. Yeah, start small and then work your way up. I mean, I'm still excited though. Like I feel very excited about the future of the Vietnamese furry community. I mean, the same thing we've kind of talked about like with the fursuits. Like again, like I really want to see more artists, more fursuiters, fursuit makers coming from Vietnam in the next few years. And I think that's a perfect segue to our last question. Actually, the Vietnamese furry fandom seems to be quite young, and there's definitely a lot in store for you guys. And despite the whole COVID thing and everything, like I feel that international travel will come back sooner than later. But where do you guys see the fandom heading in the next 5 years? For example, we talked about the cons. Like, do you think it would be possible to have a con in, I don't know, like 2030 or something like that? Do you see like meetups being more popular? Like, do you guys have any thoughts?
for the past few years, I did notice that a lot of like talented people who get interested in furries have started to rise on social media. Some like to draw, some like to make merch or fursuit, or some are just like really good at interacting with other furries from around the world. So I do hope like the furry fandom here will expand more than that in 5 years. And I don't think there will be a con in 5 years. I would say like that time is still considered too short for us to like reach that goal. Vietnamese furry is like already joining in some furcon aboard, but mostly within Southeast Asia. For example, like Vietfur have applied for boothing in Fur Square, Thaitel to sell their merch and talk about like the Vietnamese furry in general. And some small group have also like attended FurCon from other countries to experience and to learn from them.
Right.
I think like my own experience is like I think I remember like when my first time when I go to a FurCon is Forum and I met you, Michael.
Yep.
And that is like the best experience of my life to know
Right,
about
yeah.
like furries.
It's such a different experience, right? Like if you've never been to like such a huge event, especially if it's a FurCon, like it's such a different feeling.
Yeah. And talk about FurCon, a bit off topic, but like I heard that Forum is also like happen at the end of this year. Do
Yeah,
you
it's
planning to
confirmed.
like
Oh, am I
so
playing? Oh,
yeah.
man, if CT's listening to me, I'm scared. I'm scared now. Well, I'm 50-50. I really want to go. I can't say I will, but I'm 50-50.
It all depends on COVID, right?
Yeah, there's that, but it's the quarantine. Getting back to Taiwan.
Oh, I see.
Like, yeah, we would still have to quarantine, yeah. But what about Bio? Your thoughts on this topic of where do you see the Vietnamese furry fandom heading in 5 years?
I'm not sure about the FurCon, but I think after during that time we can schedule like a fur meet like
Mm-hmm.
once every 1 or 2 months, like for people to meet up and hanging out, meeting friends and stuff. Because we are lacking in the manpower and to open the FurCon, so we need some more time to do that.
And I really hope I get to see you guys at future FurCons. Like, if Vietnam doesn't have one, then hopefully we can see you guys like either here in Taiwan or back in Firm or Thailand. Thailand would be really close to you guys, so yeah, we'd love to see you guys in the future.
I'm also planning to go to First Square in the future.
You want to go to
That's-
first grade? Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely on my
Oh
plans.
god.
Mm.
For the doujinshis, right?
Yeah.
I
And
knew
also
it.
I want to meet up with some Thai fur there. They're really friendly.
Do you want to meet who's it? Keizo? Kenzo. Have you met up with Kenzo before?
No, I think I haven't.
Okay. He's cool. Yeah. All right.
I think at this point it might be cool if they had like you know how they have ASEAN, the little organization that is like a meeting of different Southeast
Yeah,
Asian
ASEAN,
countries
yeah.
together. I wonder if they're eventually going to have that for just the furries that exist inside of Southeast Asia.
I don't know if there'll be a con for that, but like they definitely know about each other. I think like if you're in Vietnam, you probably know about Thai tails. I feel like like if
Yeah.
you're Vietnamese for
Mhm.
yeah.
Just like you guys said, hopefully the Vietnamese furry fandom will grow and we'll have a bunch of talented artists and fursuit makers and any other creators inside of that community that'll really inspire people and it'll just grow and grow from there.
We live during exciting times, and I am super excited. I want to go to Vietnam and want to see you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And thank you two so much for being on this podcast tonight. Go ahead and tell us where we can find you on social media then. Like, you can give us your social media handles on the social media shoutout section.
So you guys can meet me on Twitter, and my Twitter is x_kusunagi_x. Or you guys can just meet me on Facebook. My Facebook name is Chen Anh.
All right, so then Bio.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. It's Bio Husky 13, and I'm also in Facebook, facebook.com/bio.hoangya.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been great having you here tonight to talk to us about the Vietnamese furry fandom.
Thank you,
Thank
Michael,
you.
for inviting us for this podcast. It's really nice to like share our experience to you.
Yeah, we love getting to hear from you guys.
Thank you for having us today.
And that's why we have the podcast. It's so that we can have people from different places around East, Southeast, just the Eastern Hemisphere, and share their experiences, what they like, what they do, here on the Fox and Burger podcast. So that has been this episode of the Fox and Burger podcast with me, Burger.
And I'm Michael the Macho Fox.
And we will see you all in the next episode. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.